Hi guys, I'm Bri.
And I'm Alli. This is Offscript.
If you think about it, books are potential scripts for movies.
When this adaptation happens, typically it's disappointing because they went off script.
In this series, we will be talking about how off script they went.
Oh, I always say hi first, don't I? Hi, everybody. I was giving you a chance.
I know, I almost took it, and then you're like, oh.
Well, I was sitting there staring at you, and you ain't saying nothing, so
I was looking at our notes. Hello, I'm Bri.
I'm Alli.
And this is Offscript, a podcast
Where we compare the books and their movies.
Today, what are we doing?
Ready for a doozy of a title?
Yeah.
The Accidental Billionaires, the founding of Facebook, a tale of sex, money, genius, and betrayal, which is also known as The Social Network.
I was just going to say my favorite part is the fact that the movie was like, nah,
that's too long. Like, they could have at least just kept The Accidental Billionaires.
I know.
I actually like that.
That
name.
would have been, yeah. I think they wanted people to know that it was about Facebook.
Yeah.
And so that's why they went with The Social Network.
Which makes sense.
Yeah. But I think The Accidental Billionaires is way catchier.
I agree.
What can I do?
We just sit here and complain.
Tell people what they should be doing with their jobs.
Exactly.
Sounds about right.
Well, we're about halfway through, a little over halfway through season 4, you guys.
I'm very proud of us.
Yeah, season 4, episode 14.
We haven't even had to like flip some stuff around yet.
Yet.
We almost did. We're getting kind of close.
Oh, man.
And we're about to start some big books.
I think we only have one big book, really.
Yeah. And I'm trying to read it. I'm probably going to end up having to listen to it. I didn't want to. I wanted to physically read this one again.
I'll just do it.
Yeah, might as well.
All right.
There's our picture for you.
Yeah. That's a great picture. We're just stressing over here, trying to do. But think of how Bri's like read a bunch of the books at the end of our season. You did it all out of order.
Yeah, I did.
So
I did.
So I'm done with a bunch of them.
I am done with a bunch of them. I think I only have like 5 left that I have to read. And after we record the next one we're recording, that puts us like 3 weeks ahead.
Okay.
So I have, as long as I just bust through the rest of this book that I'm reading now, I'm trying not to say titles to confuse the listeners.
Fair.
Then I'll have 3 weeks to read Caging Skies and the Host.
Okay.
So I think it's possible, but my life, man, reading has become so slim.
All right, you guys. Well, today we're going to talk about Facebook.
Yeah.
That's our synopsis. It's the true story of how Mark Zuckerberg founded Facebook.
Yeah.
Stole it. Did he steal it? I don't know. You be the judge of that.
Yeah, you tell us.
Okay, author was Ben Mesrich. Director David Fincher.
Fucking love him.
What else has he done?
Fight Club.
Oh,
Panic Room. 7. Gone Girl. Benjamin Button. That's such a random one. I haven't watched that one, but like,
you've never seen it?
no,
I haven't either.
with all the other Zodiac.
All
All
these,
these dragon tattoo.
Horror, action, intense movies, and then
The Curious Case of Benjamin Button.
oh, okay.
But yeah, he's like, if he's done it, I'll watch it.
Like Brad
Except
Pitt
for
is in like all
Benjamin
these
Button.
movies.
Dude, 7. I haven't watched 7 since my birthday of 2020. It's been too long. I really need to watch that movie again.
Never seen it.
It's Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt are detectives working a homicide case where the killer is killing people based off of the 7 deadly sins.
Ooh, that's interesting. Well, we have the screenplay writer is Aaron Sorkin. And audiobook reader was Mike Chamberlain.
One thing I've noticed that you guys probably haven't noticed is that a lot of the screenplay writers are the same people over and over again. We've been saying these names for quite some time now.
I have not noticed.
How was the audiobook reading?
He was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was expecting. I'll get to that.
Okay.
He helped. He helped the story.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah.
The book came out July 14th, 2009, and the movie came out October 1st, 2010. It's a 1 year difference.
So that makes sense. I was in college when I saw this.
Yes. Okay. So which first?
I watched it first, and I actually did not realize it was a book. I almost said a movie. A book until we were doing this podcast, and I was coming up with a list.
Cool.
Yeah.
I read it first.
What? You've never seen it?
Mm-mm.
Oh, I thought you had.
Mm-mm.
Oh, I'm even more interested to hear your thoughts then.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Nope. I never saw this. I was interested.
Wow.
But I never got around to it. It was one of those movies that Cameron and I are like, oh, that would be really cool to see.
Uh-huh.
And then it left theaters, and
Yeah.
we just never went to streaming to see it.
That makes sense. This movie came out when I was still big in like, I'm a computer scientist. I code. And so I wanted to go see it. And like, I loved seeing all the computer science code in the background on like the whiteboard, and like literally how they code just on anything is how computer scientists. I had to buy a whiteboard for my homework.
Wow.
Yeah, because I wasn't about to write on a window. So it was very cool for me in the moment to watch and see that. But I also didn't realize that I think I was really just enjoying the movie.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good. So that's your initial thoughts, probably?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mine were, I was going in expecting not to like this. Like, not necessarily the movie, just the story in general, especially in the book.
Yeah.
Because it just sounds like a research book to me.
It does.
And honestly, listening to it, that's all I could think about. I was like, this would be so boring to write.
Mm-hmm.
But he made it entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would recommend. I like both of them.
Same.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the ending's actually going to be hard for me.
Yeah, I know.
I'm like, oh.
I actually am not sure either.
Because, I went into this knowing that I liked the movie.
Uh-huh.
I really like the movie. Like, I've watched it more times than I can count. Plus, Trent Reznor is lead singer of Nine Inch Nails, and he made the score of this movie. And honestly, he also did the score for Gone Girl. And like,
Oh, well.
any of his scores always like, I love his scores. Sorry, I don't know. How did I get on that tangent?
Why you like it? You like the movie.
I think it drives that for me. But I went into the book with our theory in my mind, where I was like, okay, so I know that I like the movie. I'm probably not going to like the book. Plus, I was like, I feel like this is like, almost like you, but not really like, ooh, this is research. But I was like, this just seems like it's going to be boring.
Mm-hmm.
But I flew through this book.
It was good.
I was like, whoa, hold on. I did that way quicker than I thought I would. So yeah, I would recommend it to a friend. Absolutely.
Why did we pick it? This is not my birthday anymore.
Nope, it's not. I picked this one because I had seen the movie. I loved the movie and didn't realize it was a book. And so this has been one of the ones that I kind of wanted to do early on, but I also thought I needed to get Allie acquainted to our podcast before I did this one.
Let her read a little bit first, and then maybe we'll put this one in there.
Basically, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
That's why.
Alrighty. So let's do Allie's Super Fun Facts. So our first one, Mark Zuckerberg originally planned to never see this movie. I mean, I don't blame him.
Yeah.
But he did end up taking several of his employees to see it. He later remarked that despite some of the film's inaccuracies, they got his clothing right.
God.
Oh my gosh. Okay. The real Mark Zuckerberg had never heard of an apple teeny before he saw this film. After he tried one, he liked it so much, he made the apple teeny Facebook's official drink. Oh my gosh. After casting, David Fincher forbid principal actors from meeting their real life counterparts until the filming was complete.
Ooh.
I know. I thought that was interesting. I mean, I get it.
That's
Yeah.
probably smart for a film like this. Like, I think if it weren't shining a light on
controversy and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Then he would have been like, go ahead. But the fact, because how much you want to bet Mark would have been like, okay, this is not at all how this happened.
Yeah, exactly.
This is how you got to play it, Jesse.
Yep, exactly. All right. In Zombieland, which also came out in 2000. No, the book came out. So this movie came out 2010. Yeah. So a year before, Jesse Eisenberg's character said that the best part of the zombie apocalypse was not having to worry about updating his Facebook status. While making the film, he had to have the directors explain what Facebook statuses were. Are you serious? Like, what?
That's hilarious.
But then at the same time,
Zuckerberg.
I know, but at the same time, it's like, oh, 2009. Okay, Facebook was only around for a couple years, and they probably just got off the college only.
Well,
Probably a year or so before that.
I feel like, too, a lot of famous people tend to stay away from things like Facebook because they don't need that in their life. How sad, yet here we are. Living our life on it.
At the end of every episode, go like us on Facebook.
I know, right? I will say one thing about this book is it kind of like, it just makes me, I don't know if you had this feeling, but like, I just kept thinking, oh my God, I need to like pull back on my social media usage.
Yes. Yep. I have removed it from easy access on my home screen to like a folder. So it's an extra step. But I've gotten to the point where now I mindlessly swipe and click anyways.
What I do. See?
It's like I knew it was bad when I'm like playing a video game and it's just the loading screen, the like 5-second loading screen, and I swipe and click on Facebook. I'm like, that's not okay. So now I think I need to just take it off my screen altogether. So then I have to go into search.
Well, dude, I took mine off my screen. So like, it's not on this main home screen. But if I go here and it's right there.
Oh yeah.
So I just swipe right and it's got all of my apps and whoop, it's right there.
Yeah, that's still too easy.
Yeah.
That's kind of where mine is too. And so I have to go, what I want to do. So it used to be, right on my home screen, but now I swipe and same thing. I have to click and it's there, but I just want to delete it from there. And then, but I'll have to remember just to like swipe so that I have to find it because it'll stay in my search bar, like wherever page I'm on.
Yep.
It's going to be a point where I just have to delete it off my phone. But it's like we need it for like all of our Offscript stuff and everything. So
it's a very hard line, and I think that I walk it too much on the negative side of it. And I want to get away from that.
Yes, this story definitely made me want that even more.
Absolutely.
Okay, number 5. As part of his research, Jesse Eisenberg read a copy of Mark Zuckerberg's college application. Zuckerberg's essay focused on his love of fencing, so Eisenberg took a couple of lessons. He quickly realized its effects on his posture and the way he moved, and he applied that knowledge to portray the character. I just think these actors just go above and beyond.
Yeah, for real.
I'd be like, okay, I'll remember these lines. Like, I would not be a good actress because
you don't
all that extra work.
Shoes, yeah,
I'm like, that's too much work.
I know. I know.
This podcast is too much work. I have to read a book and watch a movie. Oh my gosh.
Just write my lines for me.
Exactly. And I did a bonus one because I thought it was cute.
Yeah.
Shortly after receiving an Academy Award nominations for his performance, Saturday Night Live host, so he was hosting, Jesse Eisenberg and Nicki Minaj. Wait, who cares about Nicki Minaj? Anyway, so Jesse Eisenberg was interrupted by his monologue by the real Mark Zuckerberg. So I felt like that was a fun one to add because in the end,
Mark actually
he gave his approval without giving his approval for this movie.
Yeah.
Which, that's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially when it dives this deep into his life.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah.
And that
his personality.
Yeah. And so the way the book was created are a bunch of interviews and self counts, right? But Mark refused to give an interview. So that's why
it's always third person.
Yes. And it'll be like, we can assume that Mark did this.
Mm-hmm.
Okie dokie.
Let's do it.
Mm-hmm. So we are following a character named Eduardo. What's his last name? Salvin? I don't know. He's a real person. I feel bad enough for not knowing his last name.
I was just going to say, way to put me on the spot. I don't know. I just know he's Eduardo.
I feel like I should give him full name credit.
Saverin.
Okay. Dude, have you seen like side-by-sides of all these actors?
Mm-mm.
Dude, they matched them pretty well.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah. I mean, there's obvious differences, but...
Yeah. But he actually does. At first I was like, ooh, bad casting. And then I was like, actually...
Once you get all of them, like I think I have a picture that has all of them next to him. It's pretty good. Anyways, so we're following Eduardo. He's at Harvard and he's a junior and he's trying to get into the Phoenix, which is like the elite frat on campus or club. I don't think they call them frats at Harvard.
I know. I was like, goodness.
So he's talking himself up when he noticed this curly haired awkward kid. And it turns out it's Mark Zuckerberg.
In the movie, it starts and they're already friends.
Yes, it does.
And I will say, in the book, too, Mark don't care about the frat. Whereas in the movie, he kind of butthurt that he did not get picked to be in the frat.
It's like a pivotal, important moment that he hates.
Mm-hmm.
He's jealous.
Yeah.
Which,
yeah,
like you just said, he doesn't care.
Mm-hmm. I know. It's an odd choice for the movie. Because
I agree.
there's definitely...
Because there's truth and reason why he did what he did. You don't need to be adding and making stuff up.
Exactly.
So, okay, I have to ask, though.
Yeah.
Watching it, did you think that this was, like, because you watched it first, do you think that was the truest, like, oh my gosh, all of this really happened?
Yeah. It made me dislike Mark hardcore. I, like, at that point in time, I was like, I hate Facebook. I need to not do it. Then look at me 14 years later, still on it. But it put such a gross, like, taste in my mouth, and feeling in my stomach. I was like, because even if there were fictionalized parts in it, I was like, because I knew that there was controversy around it. And I knew that there were things. I just didn't know everything.
Right.
So when I saw this, I was like, wow, this dude really went and basically like two-timed two different people for the same company just to make his ends meet.
Right.
And I didn't like that.
So then reading it and finding out certain lies that the movie did, was that shocking?
Yes.
Because I assume the book is more accurate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
It made things clearer, but also I was like, wow, but still, like, there's some
messed up
shady stuff that happened. Yeah.
Okay. So Mark made this a really fancy computer code that Microsoft wanted, and they wanted him to come work for them for $1 million. And he's like 17 years old. And he says, nah, what the? Imagine you.
Yeah.
Dream job. Like,
yes.
Right.
Here you go.
Turned out $1 million.
No, it's just, so here's the thing. This was kind of how I realized that I was not a programmer, because I feel like I could see a lot of my programming friends, like, yeah, a lot of them would obviously be like $1 million. Hell yes. But to them too, this is their baby. This is what they've worked on. This is their pride and joy. And so I do think they don't want it going into the wrong hands and being used in the wrong way. So they are a little bit kind of like picky about who gets it.
That makes sense.
Like watching my uncle program and one of my best friends program. That's really actually what it was I was stuck on I was programming for a bubblegum machine, and like it was, I can't even remember exactly what they wanted it to do, but it was basically like you put this in and then it turns and whatever. And I couldn't figure out how to do it. I was like, what in the hell? It was like, I was learning a new language. I was very good at C+ and Basic. And I think this was JavaScript. I can't remember. It was one of the more difficult languages. And I asked Charlie for help. And Charlie immediately was like, oh yeah, I can do it. And like sat with me for 2 hours programming my homework. As I'm sitting there watching him like, what the hell? And then like right after that, I went to visit my aunt and uncle. And my uncle was so excited because I'm a big video game nerd and he's a big video game nerd. And he was like, we can program a video game together, and started like coming up with all these ideas. And all I could think was, I don't know how I'm going to do that.
You weren't excited about it.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, in high school, I loved first off, Mr. Dale was the programming teacher and he was one of my best math teachers I've ever had. Loved him. And like, I ended up freaking coding, I think it was like 10,000 lines of code. And you know what I made? I made the Harry Potter maze.
That's awesome.
And I loved it. And I thought I loved it for the code. But really, I think I loved it for the movie aspect. And so watching my uncle and Charlie both sit there getting so excited to code with me, I was like, oh, this does not make me excited like that. This stresses me out. So,
well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Anyways, we learn all about background from Eduardo and his family life, and we learn all the background of the Phoenix. And Eduardo befriended Mark. And to get into this final party at the Phoenix, he had to ask a really pretty girl out to the party. So he did.
Okay, so we learn about Mark turning down Microsoft when the movie starts and he's on a date with a girl. And he is very self-centered and talking all about himself. And the girl's trying to break up with him. And he's like, no, 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 no. And basically telling her all the reasons why she should stay with him.
But like very like condescending reasons and ways.
I will say at that first scene when I first saw it though, I had me laughing so hard that I immediately knew. I was like, oh, I'm going to like this movie. And then we don't ever learn much about Eduardo.
Like his background?
Yeah.
Not too much
in
the movie.
Yeah. And you know about the Phoenix, but not too much. And he does end up having to ask a pretty girl to the party. Oh, the other thing that's different in the movie is that Mark is like, I really want these clubs to like notice me, because Eduardo comes to Mark and is like, I got in the final cut. And Mark's like, well, I'm going to make something that makes them notice me.
Oh, yeah. In the book, we now are following Tyler and Cameron. Winklevoss.
Oh, funny.
You didn't get that when
I was reading? No. In my head, I was just sitting there reading it, thinking about Armie Hammer playing them.
Oh my gosh. Now that my two boys and I am so sad for them. So they're on their way to be Olympic rowers. Like they got skills. They're members of the Pork Club, so not as elite as the Phoenix, but this club is all about planning your future and everything. The Phoenix is all about, parties. They had an idea to make this social network online for everyone at Harvard called Harvard Connect. This way, people like them who are really hard workers at school and, with their sports, they don't have really a social life, but this would help them get their social life going on and help them meet the ladies and all this sort of stuff.
Literally, this Facebook started so that dudes could hook up with chicks. That's literally all it is.
Yes. Their most recent coder dropped out, though, so they had to find someone else, and they're working with their friend Divya.
So my next note here is that the movie follows strictly Mark, whereas the book follows all these other characters. So we don't really meet these guys until Mark has done something of note to get these guys on his radar. Basically, everything that you just said happens. It just doesn't happen right now.
Eduardo is in charge of this chicken for 5 days because it's part of his initiation to get into the Phoenix. And unfortunately, he fed it chicken because he's like, I got to feed this chicken and I'm eating chicken right now. I don't know what else I'm supposed to feed it. And someone at the pork saw him and emailed animal activists and this whole thing blew up. But it's all right because later that night, Mark and him are meeting some girls.
So the whole chicken thing happens, but it happens basically after Facebook has already been made.
Yeah. And then in the movie, Mark is the one who tells. Like in the book, it's never said, like they don't know who. They said they saw some pork kids seeing them.
Yeah.
So it's guessed that it's them.
It's them, yeah.
So we never officially know, but like they flat out said like Mark did it just because he was jealous of him. Just thought that was sad. I was like, Mark is not a good guy, but man, they made him way worse, I feel like, in the movie.
Yeah.
Like he has his moments for each.
Well, you know what's funny? I think maybe it's because Jesse Eisenberg plays him. So like part of me also felt like he had like there's redeeming moments for him. Especially like we all get jealous. We all know how that feels. So I think to me, having known or having thought it was a jealousy thing, I kind of always was like, Mark can have a good side to him. But then ironically reading this book, I was like, oh, there's no good side to him.
I know. He did not come out very well in the book at all. Maybe if he had met with the guy.
No, maybe he should have.
Okay. Well, I do have to say, okay, it happened like a week ago. I was still reading the book. And you were probably either at work or something. It was like really early in the morning and Facebook wasn't working for I don't know how long.
Oh, yeah. Because didn't Mark do something?
I don't know what he did. I legit was like, oh my gosh, does he know I'm reading this book? And like screws up my face. Because everyone else seemed to be fine. Like you guys, yeah, I know. Well, now I know.
Oh.
But at that point, like you guys were still messaging on Messenger and everything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't. It's not letting me. I really thought he was punishing me.
That's hilarious. No, I can't. Something happened. I didn't read too much into it because I was like, whatever. If you're going to do it, dude.
The only time I found out, or the only reason I found out was because all the memes came up and it was like Mark Zuckerberg's face. And he's like, yeah, if you do that again, I'll shut off Facebook again or something like that. And I was like, oh, okay. It wasn't just me.
That's exactly how I found out. Or like, I think there was a meme about like basically being like, all right, dude, we know you can do it. Just do it.
Yes.
Why are you just like, oh, look what I can do?
I know. I wonder what happened. Who knows?
I don't know.
Anyways. All right. So Mark comes home in the evening from a really bad date and he is pissed and he decides to start downloading all the student pictures from all the, what are they called? Houses? All the houses on campus and to create all their Facebook, because that's what it's called, where it's everyone's house. That confused the crap out of me at first.
Well, because Facebook literally started as everyone's, it was
Picture online.
It was only on college campuses and it was only in like the dorms. And so you got it and you got to log on and it was exactly like Facebook, just not as social.
Oh.
And so like, so you could see like, oh, and like before you got to college, that's how you could see your roommate and like things like that.
Oh.
So it's literally Facebook just before it was Facebook.
Okay. So he downloaded all,
which confuses me because I'm like, they're in itself. Why isn't Harvard suing this dude? But whatever. Or
it must just be
college.
A general name.
Yeah. Probably.
Right.
They
like,
probably didn't trademark it or anything.
Yeah.
They were just like, this is for college kids, whatever.
Yeah. Who cares?
No one will do anything with it.
Right. So he starts creating a new website called Face Smash because his roommate is like, you know, what'd be really funny is if we put girls' pictures next to farm animals and they had to choose which one was hotter. And this gave Mark the idea that that's what made him download all these pictures, but he decided to just do them against girls. And he went to all the houses, got all the downloads. And since he didn't interview in the book, we can guess how he got a couple of pictures from different houses, but we don't know for sure.
Also, the one thing you said his roommate suggested it. Really, that's what happens in the movie. In the book, he's on Reddit.
Reddit. Okay.
Yeah, he's just online, basically talking to his online friends. Like, just got back from a really bad date. I want to do something. And
Oh yeah, and he's like documenting this.
yeah,
What? Like online journal for the whole world to read. And he's like calling this girl like nasty
pig.
names and things.
yeah. So that was one of my notes because he was in his dorm with like 4 friends, and I was like, "Aw, at least the movie
Gives him friends.
not just online people talking to him." Because he does go online and like 4:05 a.m. got back from a really bad date. I need to do something.
Yep.
Yeah, and then Eduardo comes to hang out with them, and Eduardo ends up helping with face mash.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Mark sent the link to like 5 people just to have them beta test it just for fun. Just be like, hey, this is funny. But he comes back a few hours later and the servers nearly crashed because so many people were on this website. So he shut it down immediately because it got out of hand. He did not mean that to happen.
Mm-hmm. In the movie, honestly, I loved seeing like everyone get the link and
that
like,
was
starting
fun.
it.
I liked that too.
Yeah, I it's just so creative.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the movie, they showed Mark basically like I will say in the book, when it did start to go out of hand, he immediately was like, "Oh shoot, I did something bad," and like went to stop it. Whereas in the movie, he played it like
It's like a little diabolical.
I need this to crash the servers. I want to be the best programmer there is, so crash.
I just imagine he just kind of reminded me of like an evil guy just sitting there like, "Mwahaha."
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Oh, also, I'm gonna jump here because this is the first time when you realize that in the movie, it's being told in the form of Mark is now in 2 different lawsuits with Eduardo and Tyler and Cameron.
Mm-hmm.
And so the movie is basically what is it called? Dispositions or suppositions? I can't remember. One of those to the lawyers to explain like both sides.
I liked how they did it. So I don't think they could have done that in the book because the lawsuits didn't happen until after the book was done.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of cool how they took their new information
And added it
to the movie.
Plus, I just think I think it created a different like feel for it too. Cause
Oh yeah.
you go into it and the movie starts and you don't realize that it's being told as the like lawsuit. And then you get to that first scene where he's sitting at the table and the lawyer's like, Mark. And then you realize like, ooh, something happened. And I'm pretty sure the first person you see him sitting across the table from
Is Eduardo.
Yeah. And you're like, wait, this is your best friend. And
What happened?
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah, no, I really liked it. I wasn't sure I did at first, but then after watching like the lawsuit scenes a couple times, I was like, I kind of do like this a lot.
yeah.
Yeah. So Divya showed Tyler and Cameron the newspaper, the school newspaper, and he's like, I found our guy. And they had a whole article about Mark in it, about his website, and they sent him an email, and he showed Eduardo the email and said, this could be interesting. Because I guess Mark always says interesting.
He thinks everything's interesting.
But Eduardo was not for it. He's like, I don't know about this. But Mark seemed rather excited.
In the movie, the twins came up to him in a dining hall. And so there was no way for Mark to tell Eduardo until a little bit later. Because Mark was very much that's the thing too. Like, I feel like it would be so hard to be his friend because you could sit there and tell him everything about you and your life. But he basically would only give you need to know stuff. And then if things came up that you would find out, then he would be like, oh,
that's interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
So Tyler, Cameron, and Divya met with Mark, and he was very excited to start helping them with their website. As Bri just said, that happened a different way.
Yeah, very different way. But
so Eduardo's super hungover because he was celebrating because he got into the Phoenix. And he met up with Mark after Mark went through he had to go meet with the dean and apologize and have this whole hearing type of thing. And he ended up getting like a slap on the wrist, basically, and a probation, like, be good for the next 6 months.
He actually didn't get the probation in the book. It was just in the movie where he got the probation and Mark was pissed.
What happened in the book?
In the book, he got away with it. They basically were just like, don't do it again.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Which I'm like, I have learned that there is a lot in schools that aren't as strict as they should be.
Okay, so Mark is meeting with Eduardo and he tells him his plans for the Facebook. And he got the inspiration from the twins, but he didn't like their idea because it was going to be purely a dating site, basically. So he took it and made it his own. And he convinced Eduardo to invest $1,000 and they'll split the company 70-30.
One thing I didn't make note of when you talked about him meeting the Winklevosses, in the book he knew who they were because they are these prestigious siblings who are big in the pork and all that. In the movie, they came up to him and said their name and he was like, who are you? It's like, you know who they are. When Mark pitches this to Eduardo, they do it in a very intimate setting. But in the movie, Eduardo has just got what is called punched, which is him getting into the Phoenix. And so he's at the party for that rather than being super hungover. And Mark comes and like meets him or like goes into the party to find him and has him come outside and then tells him the idea very like hurriedly, very quickly. And almost like the movie makes it seem like, because this was the thing that I didn't like. This is in the book for me when I started being like, ooh, I don't like this. He did not change much about the twins' website, in my opinion. I couldn't see the difference between the two.
In the book?
Like, could you?
But okay. I couldn't in the movie either.
Exactly. I couldn't in the movie either.
Okay.
But this is when I was like, he literally is just telling what he wants to tell.
Yeah.
And making.
And his whole excuse is like, well, you can't sue a guy for making a chair because another chair was made, another cool chair. And it's like, basically, but I'm like,
the person who came up with the idea for the chair.
Like, if it's a really cool chair that has like heat warmers and everything, and
well, like, imagine the very first person who created a chair, right? Or thought of it.
Right. They had the thought of it. They didn't even create it yet.
Yeah.
And then you go and steal the chair idea. Yeah, you stole it, my dude.
Yeah. And so I think the movie does a good job because in the book, it felt very like, this is a business meeting. I'm calm, collected. Whereas in the movie, it was like Mark knew what he was doing. And so it was like, I got to do this quick. Got to get your money quick. It just makes you feel really bad for Eduardo.
I know.
Oh, and again, this is the first time when the movie acts like, oh, wait, no. This is when we cut back to the lawsuit and the lawyers accuse Mark of being jealous that Eduardo got punched. My next note is Mark's such a dick in the movie.
Yes.
But damn, Jesse plays it so good.
Well, I think this is when I made I think it was this, I don't know, one of the deposition scenes where Mark is just like, oh my gosh. But they show you that they're recording it. So it's like he had to have acted that way, right? Because I feel like that recording would be, do you think that's
public knowledge?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's public knowledge, but it's definitely something that they could have got
for Jesse. And so you would think he would act exactly how Mark acted in those things. And in that, Mark did not act how I read him to act in the movie. Like, he seemed like such more of a little prick than he did in the book to me.
What's funny is because I watched the movie first, I had this version of him in my head. So I was kind of like, I pictured him as basically the dick guy that we just didn't see the dick parts,
Uh-huh.
we saw
Because I just pictured the quiet nerd who like has that diabolical brain, like me, but like he never outwardly shows it. So then watching the movie, I'm like, oh, he outwardly shows it. That's for sure. So Tyler, Cameron, and Divya are getting very frustrated because Mark is taking way longer on their site than expected, but he's still in communication with them. He keeps saying like, oh, I'm really busy. I got extra homework. I'll get to it tomorrow. Or like he keeps putting it off, and they are getting more and more suspicious. Like, this is weird.
This is what makes it worse. Like the fact that he kept pushing it off and being like, and vaguely being like, don't worry, I'll get to it, guys. But I'm busy with homework and I'm busy with this and I'm busy with that. When they literally found you knowing you were one of the best programmers, which means you most likely don't have homework. You made a
website in a night.
Yeah.
They should have just dropped him right away.
Should have went with someone else, guys.
All right.
Imagine you might have all the money of Facebook.
I know. Oh, I feel so sad for them. So Mark showed Eduardo the Facebook, and all of its settings, and you had to be a Harvard student to join. And they sent a mass email out to Eduardo's connections to the Phoenix, and it went live.
So in the movie, they play on, I almost said Eduardo being jealous, on Mark being jealous of Eduardo. Because at this point, Mark then asks Eduardo if they can, or no, he doesn't ask. He tells him to get him all of the emails from the Phoenix to send to the club. And Eduardo is very like about it. Whereas in the book, Eduardo was on board immediately and was like, this is so smart. All my connections there will like this. This will work.
Eduardo also in the movie wasn't even a member yet. He was like, he was like on the final step.
Yeah, that's true.
And he's been a member for
a while
now. So Tyler, Cameron, and Divya find out about the Facebook, and they are pissed, rightfully so. Tyler calls his dad, and his dad advises them get a lawyer involved, and he set him up with his.
That happens a bit later in the book or movie. My bad.
Mark and Eduardo were at a Bill Gates panel, just like he's at the school talking. And Mark is so excited because Bill Gates is one of his idols. And he really resonated with the part where Bill Gates said, you know what? If Microsoft failed, I could always have gone back to college to finish it. And that's why he did not finish college, because he went with his dream and his vision. And Eduardo was talking to these girls, and they agreed to meet up with them later when they found out that they were the creators of the Facebook. And they go back to Mark's room, and Eduardo finds a letter from the twins. It was a cease and desist letter. And Eduardo was freaking out, but then he found out Mark sent a letter back stating that, hey, this is my website and it's different than yours. And Eduardo is kind of proud of him for standing up for himself.
I realize I've got quite a few notes here.
Go for it.
So how Mark convinces Eduardo to send out the link to the Phoenix members is by basically calling Eduardo his best friend. He needs help and blah, blah, blah. Whereas in the book, Eduardo and Mark weren't ever best friends. They were friends and they were close. And Eduardo's pretty sure he was Mark's one and only friend, but not close enough for Mark to call him his best friend. And then in the movie, you see Mark going onto Facebook to look at Erica, the girl who dumped him in the beginning of the movie, and basically Facebook stalk her.
Before it was a thing.
He was the original OG Facebook stalker. And then Eduardo was getting so excited about Facebook and how big it can become that he starts talking to Mark about wanting to expand to other colleges, like ones in Stanford, not ones in Stanford, like a college in Stanford. When in the book, this happens later because of a completely different character. Oh, a big difference with the Winklevosses when they go to the school president is that in the book, they're not worried about the money that the website is going to create for Mark. They're just upset about the honor, basically, and the fact that they went to him with their website and he went and made it without them. But in the movie, they just keep going on and on about how much money this website's going to make them or make him. And it should be theirs.
Yeah, that's a big difference.
Yeah. And then basically the Bill Gates thing happens. And this is when Eduardo brings a chicken into the thing. And Eduardo is telling Mark about how someone found out about the chicken eating and chicken nugget or whatever.
So they decide to sort of expand the Facebook to other elite schools. They got a couple of other guys on their team now, and Eduardo's CFO and Mark's the founder. The other two guys are working on expanding and helping coding and all that sort of stuff. And later, there's a party, and Mark and Eduardo are getting laid together. Well, separately in the bathroom. Like, they're each in a stall with their girls. Like, that would be so freaking weird.
I just love how you just said it.
Well, I was like, how do I say this? And I did not say it the correct way. But
no, I would not ever.
No, that'd be
gross.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Yeah. I don't need other people in the room doing the same thing. I think that's called an orgy.
I think it's an orgy if it's all together.
I assume it's even when you're doing it at the same time.
Not quite.
But I do love in the movie when they're hiring the other coders to join the team, and Mark's basically getting them as drunk as they can because he wants the best of the best.
Oh, that's later.
Oh.
So the twins had a meeting with their president of Harvard. So basically, he's saying, hey, this letter you sent me is trash, and it's not worth my time. And he's just really snotty. And they brought it to him because Mark stole their idea. And they're like, that's the Harvard code, is he stole something from us. And he's like, this isn't a Harvard matter. This is a student matter. And he sent them off. And then there was an interview I read that the president, he said, you know what? I've noticed if young men are dressed on a Wednesday in a suit and tie, they're either looking for a job or they're assholes. Like, so
sir, you are the president of Harvard.
I know. I was like, oh my God.
I found this on the web for you are the president of Harvard. Check it out.
That scared the crap out of me.
Well, everyone.
Siri's looking for the president of Harvard for us. See, Facebook and the social media is listening too hard on this episode. We're going to get banned.
I should have left my phone in the other room.
Okay. Let's learn about Sean Parker. So he is the creator of Napster and
holla.
And
man, I loved Napster. I can't remember. I think actually no, it was LimeWire.
The virus creator. I know. I didn't do either.
I did them both.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. And my uncle had a setup where I could go over to his house and put in the music I wanted.
Nice.
And I didn't have to get the viruses on my computer. He had a computer separately for it.
This is my virus computer. Get all the music you want.
I would go over, burn a CD for myself.
So he also created, what is it? Plaxo?
I think.
Okay.
I had never heard of it.
I haven't either. It's like an online, what are those things called? It's like a Rolodex. So it's like all your information online. That sounds scary, which is what we do now.
I was going to say, it's exactly what we do now. Just not in a Rolodex form.
Yes.
Which is almost where
I know. So he stated he was screwed out of both of those companies. With Napster, the artists, the Grammy guys came at him like, why are you giving away our free music? Like, I mean, why would they be mad at him for that? And then
no idea.
Plaxo, he was forced to leave by the Sequoia Capital boys, who supposedly set private investigators after him and everything and like freaked him out of his own company. So he was trying to figure out what he wanted to do next. And he spoke about how MySpace is more for branding, Friendster is more of a dating site. And he didn't want either of those, but he found Facebook on his the Facebook on his girlfriend's computer because she goes to Stanford and it's now at Stanford. He's not in college, so he used her site to check it out, and it's exactly what he's looking for. But he hates the in the name, so he's going to drop that as soon as he can.
I'm thankful for Sean Parker for that.
Dropping the.
Yeah.
Yes.
Could you imagine? Have you been on the Facebook today?
But they even said that people ended up dropping it before.
Before it was even
officially dropped.
True. Yeah. So maybe not.
Okay, but I do a question.
Yeah.
Did you think of MySpace's branding?
No, but also you got to think about it. When MySpace was popular, we were
middle school.
Yeah. So we weren't thinking about it in any other way.
Yeah.
We were thinking about it in the it would make sense for the top 8 and for being able to make your page look how you wanted it to look. Whereas we got on there and we're just like, ooh, what's my favorite movie right now? I want to make that my background. Ooh, what's my favorite song? Ooh, I'm going to show who my best friends are, but ooh, I'm mad at you. You're not in my top 8 anymore.
So many fights were started because of those 8.
Hey, I remember my middle school crush when I put Cascadas every time we touched on there, commented on my wall and said, hey, I really like your song. I was like, I'm the shit.
Dude, I really miss my Facebook or my MySpace page. Making the music and doing all the background. And now it's
and we literally were coding.
I know. I mean, we were probably copying, pasting a lot of it, but then we edited it. Man.
Yeah, now
we just gave it up too easy. Should have fought for it.
It's because Facebook blew up.
I know. And everybody joined it. I was one of the last of my friends to join it. Because
Same.
I was like,
I love MySpace.
Yes. I'm not joining Facebook.
I don't want another social media. And now look at me. I've got Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter.
Because everybody left. We had no
Threads. Yeah.
No one to be our top 8 anymore.
Yeah. That's where my embarrassing pictures are.
I tried to log back in because it had pics of Cam and I. But nope, my Facebook or my MySpace went over to new MySpace and they deleted everything. And
I was glad when they did that because I was like, good, I had pictures that I did not need others finding. I had thought I was cool and I was not that cool. This basically happens.
Okay.
Except I will say Sean Parker is very paranoid. And they play to that in the movie a lot. He keeps saying that one company sent private investigators after him, but I even reading it, I was like, I don't know if that's the truth. Why would a small little company send private investigators after you? They would just fire you unless you had pertinent information that they needed.
Right.
So
I think the movie, he also had a one night stand, and in the book it was his girlfriend he was with, or in the movie they made him more of a
player.
Yeah.
But I thought it was hilarious because the girl was Dakota Johnson.
Oh.
Who
Miss Gray.
Yeah. I know. I watched it and I was like, whoa, weird. Because before she was Anna, I thought I had never seen her before. Then I watched this and I was like,
you sure have.
You have seen her before.
Okay. You good?
Yeah. Because Mark's not in Cali yet.
No, he is not. So Eduardo, his girlfriend Christy, and Mark were all in New York for a business trip. And they were meeting with investors. But Mark and Christy were kind of treating it more as a vacation. And it's kind of pissing Eduardo off. Mark wanted to meet with this guy, Sean Parker. And Eduardo saw no use for him because he had no money. He failed both of his previous businesses. And he just seemed kind of sleazy. But Mark idolized him because of Napster. So, great.
I feel like that's when, if I were Eduardo, I would have pulled out.
Yeah.
He's not taking it seriously. He's partying it up with Christy. And he wants to meet with Sean Parker, who doesn't seem like he can blow up Facebook obviously I'm wrong because look at Facebook now. But at that point in time,
Right.
I would have, especially knowing how the story plays out and how screwed over Eduardo gets, that's when I would have really backed him, you know?
Yeah.
Like, get out when you can. But he trusted Mark.
Yep.
He was his friend.
I know.
So
Eduardo is trying to find out his summer plans, and he decides to take an internship in New York so he can continue to work on getting investors for the Facebook. And Mark and Sean were working together to create another website called Wirehog, which he was like, I'm going to include this in the Facebook as kind of a mix between Napster and the Facebook, and it'll be all intertwined at some point. So Eduardo's just like, oh my gosh, like, what are you doing? And Mark's like, I'm going to go to Silicon Valley because that's where all the coders and everything go. And that's what I'm going to do this summer. And it's just very frustrating to Eduardo because he doesn't, like we said, didn't seem to be taking this thing seriously.
well, also, it's very apparent in how Mark played it out that Eduardo was never a business partner to him.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you go into business with someone, you would think about the business and stick with that person. Like, oh, you want your, like, the problem too is Eduardo wanted something for his future. He wanted a career. He wanted to make something for himself while also having this as a side gig. Whereas Mark was taking the Bill Gates approach and was like, I'm going to make this work or I'm going to go back to school. And so it's just, it's sad because it's very much two differences of personalities.
Mm-hmm.
But basically that does happen too.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So Mark is doing sort of an initiation interview thing for hiring 2 new people to help with the Facebook. They need to hack a website while taking shots.
Mm-hmm.
And they look like they're having a great time. And like it was a total party and the winners are announced. And this kind of convinced Eduardo that, you know what, the separation is going to work. It's going to be okay. Nothing can go wrong. It'll be fine. Eduardo is paying for them to work out of California and all their new employees.
It just blows my mind how much money Eduardo gave.
I know.
It makes me feel so bad for him. Especially, could you imagine being in New York knowing that they're in California partying it up and you're
With
paying
your money? Yes.
I would not be happy. So,
especially when this whole time Eduardo has been like, we should be like getting investors so that Facebook is making money.
And Mark keeps saying, no, I don't want it to make money. No,
Yeah.
I don't want it to make money.
But yet he'll use your money.
Yeah, he'll use your money. And now look at him.
I know. Seems to be liking that money.
Yeah. How's the no investors working out?
So Tyler is thinking about everything because they just launched their own website and he's just pissed because it's like months after Facebook. They're calling this one Connect You, and like he's just frustrated. He knows launching it late is going to be their downfall because no one goes for the second thing. They all go for the, first thing. He also knows that talking to Mark
is pointless.
Yeah, because he's tried it and Mark runs away.
Mm-hmm.
A little chicken.
Because he knows he's in the wrong. Yeah, that basically happens.
Mm-hmm. Sean is helping his girlfriend move into her parents' house for the summer break, and he's moving her stuff and he drops it by accident. He goes down to fix it, and he runs into Mark and his crew, and they're like, oh my gosh, like we're on this street too. And they're getting
Ironic.
ready. Yeah, they're getting ready to move in their own house and work on the Facebook. And Sean noticed Eduardo's not there.
So in the movie, the Facebook group are partying it up, and they've got a zip line going from the chimney to the pool, which is just so insanely dangerous.
Oh my gosh.
I don't think I would do that.
No.
Unless the pool was like extremely deep, which this pool was not.
No.
And the chimney broke, and Sean saw the chimney break as he was leaving his one night stand's house, and he goes up to the house because he wants to check on everyone. Who would do that?
I know. I'd be
No
like,
one.
that sucks.
Yeah, I would have just been like, oh, weird. What the heck is going on?
Maybe we
And
should
walk
call
away.
the cops.
Yeah, not, I'm going to go check on this house myself. And then he knocks and lo and behold, Mark opens the door and he's like, ooh. Whereas in the book, it was a lot more apparent that someone probably did his research on where a certain someone was.
That's what I felt like. So then when I saw it in the movie, I was like, oh, did I read it wrong?
I read it exactly like that too. I was like, oh, this is even worse that he left Eduardo
To find
Mhm.
Sean.
Mhm.
So Eduardo's on his way to California for a couple days, and Christy is super clingy, and she's driving him crazy. She's like sending him like 47 text messages and all this sort of stuff. And he wasn't really sure what to expect once he got to California, but he finds out Mark's now like a player. He's sleeping with a Victoria's Secret model, and the Facebook is really taking off, but they need a bit more money for some servers. And on his way home, he gets a phone call from Christy, and she's crying because she set the present he got her on fire, and like his whole apartment's on fire, and she's crying because she might be arrested.
So Eduardo is not at the party with Sean and Mark and the Victoria's Secret models, so he's not there for that bit. But he does, the rest of that does happen.
So Tyler and Cameron went to England to compete in a rowing competition, and they lost by 2 seconds, which was actually really good. Like that, normally you lose by a lot more. Their host family let them know, hey, my daughter spent some time in America, and she has the Facebook account, and if you guys do too, she'll send you the pictures. And they're like, okay, it's time for a lawsuit, because now
This is insane.
it's all over the place, and I had to hear about it in a different country. And Cameron's been trying to avoid this, but it's where it is.
In the movie, Divya also goes with them to the competition, and their actual dad came to the race. Not that there was no host family in the movie, or yes, there was.
There
but
was, yeah.
his dad was. Their dad was at the race, and then the host father, rather than saying that his daughter's on Facebook and send the pictures, is just like, my daughter watched the race on Facebook.
Yeah, because right before this, Mark and Eduardo, or maybe it was Mark and Sean. I think it was Mark and Sean. We're talking about how they want to get this into other countries. And so now, that's basically them saying now it's in England when it is not yet.
Yep.
So Eduardo is pissed because they keep meeting with people and making investments without him. And he's the CFO. This is his job. And he told them to stop. And they did it again. So he's like, fine. And he froze his bank account.
So this happens in the movie, but it happens after Eduardo has come and hung out with them. And Eduardo basically tells Mark that he doesn't want Sean to be a part of the company. And Mark is basically like, it's my company.
Right.
And so then in a fit of rage, because he also tells them to stop doing the meetings without him too, because he's right now he's their main investor. And they go and they book a meeting. And so then Eduardo knows that Sean's still a part of the company and they're still booking meetings. Then he goes and freezes the account, which also I think it's so hard. Part of me is like, that wasn't the right move there. That was literally like, he tried to talk it out, but he also didn't really try to talk it out.
Like he should have said, you guys, if you
Keep doing this out,
then I'm going to
freeze it.
Yeah,
rather
I'm
than
going to
just-
take my money back. But just doing it without telling them, yeah, I could see the not
Yeah, like
good choices.
yeah. So part of me is like, come on, Eduardo, be smarter than that. But also, I get it. I would be pissed too. In the movie, Christy catches her gift from Eduardo on fire a little bit later. And the whole reason Christy's upset is because Eduardo didn't change his Facebook status to in a relationship. And it made me laugh.
I laughed at that too.
I was like, yes.
I also laughed when she said, like, didn't you get the 12 or like however many text messages I sent you? Or I think it was like 47 or whatever. He's like, yes, that's a totally normal amount. Like, or something.
This was also like, I remember this was my first time seeing Andrew Garfield. And this was the movie that like I immediately knew. I was like, oh, I love him. And I did not realize he was British until after he was Spider-Man.
Oh my gosh, I don't think I knew he was either.
Did I just tell you that he's British?
I think so.
Oh, he's British.
I feel like I knew. It's like that information that you get sometimes and then you just push it away because you're like, whatever.
Oh, no. I love that bit of information because he's got a good accent.
Yeah, I believe it. I could hear it.
What's funny is like now when you watch him too,
you'll sort of pick it up.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially if you watch The Social Network. I feel like this was his first role. And so like, there were some
sort of hear it.
Yeah.
That makes sense now.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So Mark and Sean are about to meet with the creators of PayPal. And they need this investment to work because Mark's lawsuit with the twins is coming along and Eduardo just cut them off and all this sort of stuff. So they need at least $200,000. And their meeting was successful. And they got $500,000. And after the meeting, the guy's like, hey, when you get 3 million members of Facebook, you can drive my Ferrari. And they had to redo all their legal documents. So everything was nice and clean with Eduardo. And they changed the name from The Facebook to Facebook.
So in the book, the meeting happens like in the morning and then it takes all day for them to decide what they're going to do. In the movie, they come in, pitch that they need money, and literally they leave knowing that they're getting $500,000 rather than making them wait all day and stress.
Eduardo was back in their house in California. And it was a new house because they got kicked out of their old house because they treated it like a frat house and it broke a bunch of stuff. But he was greeted by lawyers. Like before he even was greeted by Mark, he was greeted by lawyers and he had new documents to sign. One spoke about how there are new stocks and he owned 34% of Facebook. Another spoke about how the stocks and growing the company and all this sort of stuff, which confused him. Sean also owns about 7% of the company, which he's not really happy with, but whatever. He owns more than Sean does, so that's fine. But he's like, okay, you know what? These are Facebook lawyers, and own 34% of the company. Therefore, they're my lawyers too. And Mark signed these papers, and it's all going to be fine. So he signed all of the papers, and Mark's like, hey, you need to come back for the 1,000,000th member party, and Eduardo's like, sure, yeah, okay. And Mark shares the idea. He's like, hey, I was thinking about for Facebook, we're going to make like walls that people can type on and different groups people can join. This was just so cool to me to hear like all of the like
all the things we use now,
beginnings of everything. Like, wow. Yeah. Eduardo was enjoying being part of something so big because he found out the dean of Harvard actually used Facebook to check out all the freshmen that were coming in. He's like, that's my thing. Like how that would be so cool to
be the creator.
Yes.
Or the CFO. This part just made me so sad. I was like, I wish he got his freaking lawyers. In the movie, when Eduardo comes to the office, like in the book, it felt like it was a bunch of people were around, but in the movie, it's literally just Mark, lawyers, and Eduardo. Okay.
That's it? Okay. Eduardo came back. He's at the 1,000,000 member party and he's reflecting on everything. And they spoke about adding picture sharing app as well. Sounds like Instagram to me. And he talks about opening it to the public, but right now it's still exclusive to college. I just think throughout this whole book, I just kept thinking of the episode of Friends where Ross is like, hey, Chandler, they created this thing where all like our colleges can share with each other. And that's where like
no one cares that I died.
Exactly. And I was like, oh my gosh, that was Facebook. Because it was around the same time. So Eduardo he's back home now. And he gets a message to come to California because Mark and Sean are about to sell $2 million worth of stock. And he's like, what is happening? Because how do they have that much? Why are they selling it? Like, what's going on? especially what this is confusing is Mark didn't go in for the money. So why is he selling to get money? Like, what's the point of this? Eduardo was brought to California. It was basically an ambush to sign his shares away. These papers were shown. He was shown that the stock of Facebook, so much stock was created that his portion went down to less than 1% of the company. But for some reason, Mark and Sean's percentages didn't change. So they still own their big chunk of the company. And now Sean is president of Facebook.
Well, wasn't it something really fucked up where it was like your share of the company is based on the investors that you bring in, and they didn't tell him because they knew if they told him he would bring in investors, but he signed papers thinking that I have this much share.
I couldn't remember all the legal jargon.
I'm pretty sure they did it in a way to screw him over, to basically be like, you're not working in the company. You're not bringing in as much as you could be bringing in. So you have this little of the company. Mm-hmm.
Sleazeballs.
Yeah. In the movie, this all happens at the party. And when Eduardo first gets there, the lawyers grab him to have him sign the paperwork and won't even let him go talk to Mark first. And Eduardo's like, what? This doesn't make sense. I need to talk to him. Something's wrong here. This isn't right. And they're like, no, we just need your signature. And so then Eduardo storms out to him and yells at him. And then
he smashes his computer.
Yep. Smashes his computer and then accuses Mark of doing it because he was jealous that Eduardo got into the Phoenix and he did not. And then Sean's a dick and like writes a check to Eduardo for the $19,000 from the Frozen account.
Such a jerk.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. Mark and Sean had a meeting with the Sequoia company, who they've been putting this meeting off and off because now everybody wants Facebook, right? They're all like, we'll invest in this. So finally they're like, yeah, okay. Because these are the guys that sent private investigators to Sean. So screwed him out of his own business. So finally they set up and they said they'd meet. They were about 25 minutes late. Mark showed up in PJs and they had a whole PowerPoint that basically said, screw you at the end. So
this happens right after they get their money for Facebook. And Mark's on the phone with Sean in the book telling him, yeah, I'm running late and all this. And Sean's like, yes. When in the movie, Sean's the one driving him. And it's like, yes.
Okay. All right. So it's Harvard graduation because Eduardo went back. Mark has been in California this whole time, but Eduardo went back for his senior year. He spent the day with family, and after all the celebrations, he's just exhausted and he's trying to figure out what to do next. And he decided, you know what, I'm going to go after Mark Zuckerberg with a lawsuit. Screwed me out of my money.
If there's someone who deserves it, it's this dude. Like, I get why the twins do it, but I'm like, okay, it sucks.
Yeah.
But also there's no like Eduardo put money into it. There's no real way to show proof for the twins apart from the emails. This one's a little bit more like, get your money.
Yes. Okay. He came up with the idea of the Facebook wall, and it has blown up. They now have 10 million users, and neither of them want to sell, Mark or Sean. But unfortunately, Sean got busted at a party. And his brain starts swimming. He's like, oh my gosh, this was on purpose. They're trying to weasel me out of Facebook and all this sort of stuff.
The other thing about Sean, too, is he keeps talking about how he's clean and how he doesn't do drugs. But I'm like, dude, you got to be on cocaine or something.
Right?
With how you think.
So all these speculations about what Mark did when he got the phone call, because we don't know. But it basically was, you know what? No one's going to ruin my baby. Facebook is my baby. So that was the last we heard of Sean Parker.
So in the movie, the big difference with Sean getting busted at the party is everything he says in the book is internal monologue. Mm-hmm. And in the movie, he's talking about it to the people that he's with. And he's literally also about to do some cocaine.
Yep.
So you're not really being clean there, are you? Oh, look, that's my last note.
Okay. Well, I got some more for us. Eduardo ran into the twins at a party, and he just went up to them and shook their hands, and he apologized. He's like, you know what? Mark screwed me too, and I'm so sorry. And then he left, and that was the last he saw of the twins. And so then we have an epilogue. So the book ends, but a couple months later, before the book was published, we find out that the lawsuit finished. The twins received $65 million, which they were not happy with.
Dudes, be happy with something.
I know. At least they got something.
Yeah.
I liked in the movie how Rashida Jones, is that her name?
Yeah.
She was like basically saying, you're going to sign a settlement. And Mark was like, what? And she's like, believe me, this is the right choice. Like, just do it.
Mm-hmm.
But he still didn't want to. He was still pissed off, but it was like, just do it.
Mm-hmm.
So the twins went to compete in the 2008 Olympics, and they planned on competing for the 2012 as well. Not much is known about the lawsuit with Eduardo, but at the beginning of the year, Eduardo's name was placed back as co-founder of Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
It was never known if their friendship rekindled.
Fuck no.
Oh, hang on. Facebook was worth $15 billion, and Mark Zuckerberg was the youngest self-made billionaire in the world at age 23. Facebook had 200 million users. Even with the sharing of private information, no one seemed to care. Well, now I went and I did research.
Yeah.
I did my own research.
Oh.
Cameron and Tyler decided not to go for the 2012 Olympics. Eduardo received about 5% of the company and signed a non-disclosure.
Ooh.
There apparently are no hard feelings between Mark and Eduardo.
Oh, fuck that.
I know. Right?
He screwed you out of so much money.
I know. And Facebook is worth $206.688 billion versus the $15 billion when this book was made.
Insane.
And there are 3.049 billion active members versus the 200 million.
That's insane. That's like
crazy. We have 8 billion people in the world, and that's active members.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Oh, social media is
Gosh, seriously?
fucking our lives up.
Oh my gosh. Well, you guys, we talked a lot more than we had planned on doing it. So,
oh yeah, I really thought this was going to be a short episode.
it really would have been a super short episode if we did not have a lot of commentary. But
Yeah. But
Hey.
sometimes that's a better episode.
yeah, Facebook hits
In my
to home. So we had lots of
plus,
opinions.
Well, the thing too, I don't think we've ever had one. Well, I'm sure we have, but with this season, I don't think we've had one that we both enjoyed.
Like
I think
both
that
book
also,
and both movie.
yeah, I think that also helps us because then we want to talk about it and we're like, ooh, let's chat.
This was also a true story. So we were like
That's true.
invested a little bit
That's
more.
very true.
Okay, you guys. All I can think about listening to all our podcasts again is how much I talk and how you should do this part because then you'll talk more. But you actually talked a lot in this one.
Yes, I did.
This was a bad episode for me to try and get you to talk for this part. All right, IMDb cast 194 people.
Oh, actually, that makes sense. I was going to say that's shocking, but then I was like, oh, duh,
All the college kids, yep.
Mm-hmm.
So we have Jesse Eisenberg played Mark Zuckerberg. Whoa, they're both
Oh,
Bergs.
yeah. Whoa. I loved him. He was perfect.
I agree.
He did it fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew Garfield played Eduardo Saverin.
Again, perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Loved
He's a cutie.
him.
And he
Mhm.
really makes you feel for
Yes.
Eduardo.
Oh, God, yeah. I know. I just wanted to give him a little hug.
I know. I felt so sad for him.
Mm-hmm.
We should just go give him a sandwich hug. Just both of us on
Oh,
both
gladly.
sides. We'll just hold him. Andrew Garfield, not Eduardo.
That would be weird if we did Eduardo.
That'd be a little weird. Rashida Jones played Marilyn Delpy.
Mm-hmm.
She was one of the lawyers for, what's his name?
Mark. Mm-hmm. She did good.
Yep. Okay, we have Army Hammer played Cameron and Tyler. Twinning it up.
I don't know if you noticed this, but they shot this in such a clever way to barely have to use like CGI.
Who was it? Played the body double.
Really?
He was cast in Cast.
Oh, wow. Because I was watching it because I was like, Army Hammer does not have a twin. So it's literally just Army Hammer. And then I was like, oh, they shot this in such a way that like only one twin's head was on the screen more often than not. And I was like, this is the most clever way to do this because you don't want too much CGI in this because it's not a story that needs it.
Right. Josh Pence? Oh, you don't know him? No. I recognize the name, but I don't know.
But yeah, I thought it was very cleverly done. So
yeah. Mm-hmm. I definitely thought it was twins.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I don't know who.
Actually, I think when I first saw it, because this was Army's, one of his first roles. Oh. And so I think I also thought that. But then as he started to be in more stuff, I was like, oh, he doesn't have a twin.
I just think they looked, obviously they're identical twins, but he made them look different enough that I was like, okay, they could be two different people. Mm-hmm. Good job. Max Minghella. Sure. Played Divya.
He is an actor who is in one of my TV shows. And literally I forgot who it was until you said that name. And I was like, oh, I know him. I'm pretty sure he's in the Mindy Project, I think. And he plays Danny's brother, I think. Love him.
Yeah, he did good. Mm-hmm. He's exactly how I expected him to be. Mm-hmm. Brenda's song. It was Chrissy. I was so excited when I saw her. I was like, sweet life.
She's a perfect crazy person.
She did so good. Yep. We got Justin Timberlake as Sean Parker.
I love him.
Right when I saw his name on the screen at the very beginning, I was like, he's going to be Sean Parker. And I was like, yes, I got it right.
He plays it so well, too. It's so good. I know. He used to get a bad rap for his acting career, but man, I love his acting career. Keep going, sir.
He's a good actor. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is the theme of the book and the movie the same? Well, yes, it is. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do the characters stay true in the movie to how they were written in the book? Will you say no?
I don't think so. Why? I mean, for like an overall umbrella, sure, but Mark just seemed, unless it's just the way it was written.
I guess that makes sense.
Right? So maybe it was just not written as diabolical as you can show it.
What's funny, too, is the person who saw it first thinks that he was portrayed that way.
In the book? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Whereas the person who read it first doesn't.
Because did you go in the book thinking the movie?
Well, I will say it had been a while since I had watched the movie.
Okay.
So it wasn't fresh in my head, but I did already know that I was not a huge fan of him.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. I mean, okay.
I can see where you're coming from, but I would say yes.
Okay. Go read it, you guys, and
you tell us. What's your opinion of that?
Yes.
Do you have an answer?
For what? Which we prefer?
Yeah.
I think I prefer the book because I like the true story. Yeah, I prefer the book because I just like, with something this close to home, I feel like I gotta know the dirt and the details. Like if it's fabricated, I'm like, you've been lying to me. So to know as close to the truth as I can. Yeah. Plus, it was written in a very nice way. I really liked the deposition in between everything, though. Yeah. That was fun. But, I mean, again, it was not done yet. So they couldn't do that in the book. And I think that would have been really confusing, too. So I probably would not have written it like that.
I remember, because when I was doing my notes and stuff for this, guys, I finished this a few months ago. I knew which one it was. But then I forgot because I love them both very equally, which really surprised me. Mm-hmm. But I have to go book 2.
Wow.
Because there's so much more information about what was going on in today's day and age. It felt I knew everything that was going on and I knew what was being said and I understood how things were blowing up. And like, I could think about how in high school I was hearing about Facebook, but it wasn't that big of a thing because we were all still on MySpace, but then slowly everyone started going over to Facebook. And so that aspect of it was really cool for me. So I really like that. But honestly, like this one's really hard. Like, which one would I do again? I would do them both again. Like,
yeah, they were both really good.
yeah. So,
which again, I didn't expect because I was really expecting a boring research type book, and it was not.
What's funny is when I started the book, part of me was like, I think Allie might enjoy it because I was reading it and I was like, oh, it's very current. So she'll get what's going on with the characters and stuff. But it was also like, this is going to sound bad, but it's also kind of a fun read.
It was written in a story type way. It was not written like a on this day and this year this happened. It
felt like you were following characters that weren't real. And then you would be like,
oh no, they are real.
Mark Zuckerberg.
Which made it even juicier.
Yeah.
It was like the hot gossip.
Yeah. Yeah. But I also I love the movie too. So with that.
Yeah, the movie was really good. I did like the movie a lot too.
Yeah. It's a very, very hard one for me. And so.
But you're going book.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, everybody. Did you enjoy this episode? I hope you did.
I hope so.
I enjoyed it.
I did too.
I was going to say Allie loved it because she barely talked.
I know, finally. What?
You just need to do
which one,
books that I like.
Which one I also barely talk in?
Huh.
The one coming out this Wednesday.
Yeah, you barely talk. I have words to say about that one. But wait, we didn't ask them to rate.
I know, it was just a perfect segue. I'm sorry.
It really was. Guys, Wednesday what's coming out is Allegiant.
Yes.
Boy, howdy.
Boy, howdy. Bri's got some stuff to say.
I have way too much fucking stuff to say. I feel like I'm reliving it all right now in this moment.
I just re-listened to it today and I'm like, oh my goodness.
Bri is not happy.
That was okay because I didn't talk a lot in that one.
Bri don't like this. See, you just gotta find books that I thoroughly enjoy. Or
you find all of them except 4. You find all of our books except for a year. Not even for a season, for a year. So you need to find books that you get super into.
No, the problem is I do. I throw in the books that I know that you'll enjoy.
Oh, thanks.
Like, yeah. So I am surprised. I really, when I scheduled this one, I was worried.
I was really not looking forward to this one at all.
I know you weren't. This was one of our shorter books to read. So when I told Allie you need to read this one next, she started to dig her feet in like, but that's not our next book. And I was like, I know, but I need to catch up to where you are and you need to catch up to where I am. And so let's just do it like this. And she did not want to. And then you texted me very shortly after asking, is Caging Skies next? And I was like,
I know, I powered
through that
it
quick.
I really, really did, you guys. Granted, it helped that I had a couple places I had to drive pretty far for.
Yeah.
But I really liked it.
Yeah, it's a fun one.
But anyways, so you guys got to rate us, subscribe, review. Let's do it.
Help us.
Help you. We will give you a shout out. If you give us a review, we will read it on the
podcast. Just for you. For us. Please, it helps out small podcasts like us.
Yes, very small. Itty bitty.
Very, very small. And then Monday is actually another one that I'm excited for, but I've learned some things and I'm a little bit nervous.
I've just started it, so it's not what I expected.
It's called Caging Skies, guys, but you might know the movie as Jojo Rabbit. And I've only seen the movie once, so I also can't super remember it.
I have just started reading it and I haven't seen the movie yet.
But I know exactly what the movie's about. And
yeah, that's why I was reading it. And I was like, Bri told me the premise of this movie and what the heck?
Yeah, that's going to be a long one, guys, probably.
So I'm excited to see, again, I'm on chapter 5 out of I don't know how many. So there's potential. It might match up.
Yeah, I think I could see how it could.
Okay. Well, I'll keep reading. I'll let you know.
Yeah.
You let me know too after you read it.
Yeah.
And then you guys can come listen and see what we think.
Yeah.
Look at that. That's how this podcast works. We just described it step by step for you.
In case you forgot. All right.
Oh my
With that, the social network
went off script.
Bye.
Thanks for sticking with us.
We hope you enjoyed it.
If you did, we would greatly appreciate it if you gave us 5 beautiful stars, reviewed, and subscribed.
You can also follow us on Facebook at Offscript, on Instagram at Offscript Podcast 21, and on TikTok at Offscript_pod.
Shoutouts to Madame Shen Creations for our adorable logo art.
And Adam Daniel for our incredible theme song.
And to Creative Cinephile Productions for producing our podcast.
See you next time.